Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out this live stream. It's Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and I'm coming in a little bit early today. And I'm going to talk a little bit about things that are going on this week and take your questions and comments, all that. And maybe just kind of play a little bit. So, oh, hi, John. Thanks for joining in. Glad you could make it. So a couple of things we've been checking out. I've been checking out a little bit this week and doing some talks on and things. It's body and soul. We took the opportunity to think about secondary dominance. So the tune starts on the 2 chord, and then it goes to the B flat. Well, thank you, Michika. Right, so what's going on there? Well, we're in the key of D flat. We start on the E flat minor. So if we count up the scale D flat, start on the E flat. That's the 2 chords. We say D flat B1, E flat would be 2. The 2 chord, and we can keep doing that. Really, any key, it's kind of the same. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6. So that 6 chord is a minor chord just in the key of D flat. So think a little bit about where that E flat comes in. So, and what's the difference? So here this has a major third in the chord, say a major 10th interval. And this was more of a minor kind of sound. Okay, so we can say this is a 5 of the 2, because that's how it functions. That's how it that's what it's doing, right? And then we go on to the 5 of a 1. Now this is kind of related to secondary dominant. Goes to the 3 chord, right? So we get the G flat. We just take a moment to compare G flat 9 and C 7 flat 13. Kind of similar sound. So that's giving us a little motion into the 3 chord, right? Because the G flat 7 is the 4 chord, but in the key. So we say, let's go back to 1, 2, 3. The 4 chord is a major 7. So this change, we have that difference. So we have F versus F flat, right? So and quite a few times in this tune, we can go from this, go E flat, diminish to E minor 7. Alternative change is to go maybe E minor, just kind of sidestep there. Or you might put a 2-5 there. So okay, so that would be E minor 7 to A7, and then into the E flat minor 7. Here you might even create a little motion, moving stepwise over to the C minor 7 flat 5, F7, flat 9. Now there's a moment too where we have 5 of 6, which is a very common occurrence because that's the relative minor. So a 5 of 6, key of D flat. Okay. 2, 5, 1. There's kind of a cool chord for the 5-1 there. Let's try this out. See. That hopefully you can see that all right. Forward a little bit. Okay. So we have this note in the melody. So on the 5 chord, you could play. There's a drop 3 type voicing. We could also maybe play this chord. Let's try this out. So here we get flat 9, flat 13. And resolve that. So I'm putting together a video on chord melody and basically doing a little bit of chord melody shapes. So I have put the PDFs for that together, and I just need to shoot the video. So I'm a little behind on some of the videos and things, but hopefully I'll do a little catch up here soon. So the tune in the bridge ends up going to D major, so we can set that up with a 2/5, and then we could say, okay, key of D now. Kind of walk this up, maybe do a 2/5 there. So again, we think about what chords are in that key. It's the same relative thing as before, really. We have a 1, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, the 4. So then we have something to compare this to. So we saw in the progression we have working up, and then we get into, let's say, G minor 6, where you could create a 2/5. So G minor to C7. Or try this chord out. Let's check this chord out. Kind of cool. So if a G minor third, 6, 9, and 11. And then we can kind of cycle back down into to D there, D major. It's really cool how the progression works and how it ends up going back to where it started from. I think about key that we're in, D flat, starting on the 2 chord, right? And then in the bridge, it goes to a note just right in between those. I have half step above the D flat, half step below the E flat. So quite a bit different, right? So we get all that we just talked about a moment ago. There we go. All right, and then D minor 7, right? So it goes from minor or major, minor. So we get a 2/5 and C. So key of no flats, no sharps, and then E minor. Now this time we will go from 3 to the flat 3 diminished, 2, and then 5. It's kind of neat what happens from here. We get the so rather than going to a C major 7, we're going to C dominant 7. Okay, and then we down by half steps. And then we have that secondary dominant. Again, the B flat is going to be the 5 of the 2 chord. So that's pretty cool, I think, anyway. And we could relate this to circle of fifths, even though it doesn't really appear that way on the surface. But if we compare this to this B7 to an F7, I'm not saying this is the change. I'm just saying something to relate it to, because we learn about these things like circle of fifths, and we want to kind of understand why it's effective. But so C7, F7, B flat 7, pretty similar sound. Okay. So why is that? So we can think about these 2 tones of the C. tones of the F or the B. These two tones of the B flat. So this is kind of going. If you were to take a look at the circle of fifths, kind of moving, let's say from C way up here, and said C7, F7, B flat, flat, A flat, D flat, B, A, D, G, C. You could see what's happening there, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before in the live stream. Is so whatever root note you put on, you could do this chromatically too. So. Okay, so it's very similar to this. Just the bass note is different. So anyway, I think it's important to take those moments on certain passages and maybe see well, how can we relate this to something that we know about, so for example that would be a good spot. It's pretty clever to think about how do you get from C, the C major kind of tonal center at the end of the bridge. How do you get back to D flat, and more specifically to the 2 chord where that section begins? So it's a really kind of cool solution, right? Look at the chord that came before the C7. Right? We had a 2 and then a 5. So that ties in the circle of fifths too. So we have G7, C7, B7, and then the B flat 7. So if I was going to do the root notes with circle of fifths, then so I'm not doing the harmonic rhythm of the tune, but I'm just trying to illustrate that. Okay, so it's very similar. So some insights there for sure. All right, so I am streaming on YouTube. I'm streaming live on a podcast too. So if you haven't checked out my podcast, it's available pretty much on every major platform. I think maybe not Pandora, but I'm trying to get that worked out. I'll have to check up on that one again. But pretty much every platform. So if you want to take some of the talks in the car or on a walk or a hike, whatever, or anywhere really that you listen to podcasts, and I guess the mobility of it is kind of the appeal. The auditory or the audio only kind of aspect of it's kind of cool too. So that is a fairly new thing over the last couple of months that I started doing again. I have an older one that's I try to remove, but it's kind of, I think it's still kind of up there. But the newer one is so it's just a little more black and white and orange colored logo, and the old one is a little more lightly colored. Okay, and improvising and taking some single line things, or maybe even mixing in some bass notes or some chords there. That C7, B7, B flat 7. That's a little bit challenging to try to create a line through there. And I mean, not too bad, but so there are a couple things that you might try to do. So we have, let's say, a beat of C7, beat of B7, a couple beats of B flat. So a couple things you could practice. You could say, okay, I'm gonna you try continuous eighth notes through. So you have 4 notes to choose from on the C7. And when you're creating lines, I might try to think about what your last note is, and think about how that might resolve by a step, half step, or whole step uh, to the next chord. So maybe that would be a good spot to land on. Say okay, and then you can kind of decide, well, do I want to keep going in that direction, lower tones, maybe create a line like that. Okay, so deciding where you want to land on each tune or each chord. All right, so a couple things that we've talked about this week, in kind of private lessons and on the member area here on YouTube. Just think about those closely related keys and tying things kind of together. So when it comes to the secondary dominants, say, okay, we have this D flat major and B flat minor. So that gives us our kind of key signature. So that can help us to understand where some of these secondary dominants might come from. So if we have a closely related key, so we have 5 flats there. So if we had a key, let's say, of 6 flats, right? And we had the relative minor of that relative minor would be E flat. And even though we're still thinking about this E flat minor as the 2 chord, which we want to continue to do, we can borrow some tones from the key of E flat minor when it comes to the 5 chord. So let's explore that a little bit. Now the minors get a little more complicated, not quite as straightforward as majors. So you might say, okay, well, what is the harmonic minor? So that's something, if you haven't done a lot of this before, try to explore the harmonic minor scale as it relates to the relative minor. Okay, so we're saying, okay, we've got that. Okay, and then we'll try to relate that. Trying to gain, our goal here is to gain some insights into where this secondary dominant chord or relationship is coming from. So what if we say, okay, B flat, we can say, okay, well, So maybe that's the kind of a good sound, a good spot to borrow from that key of 6 flats, and then because it's minor, we're making some little bit of changes to it. So we get that relationship there. So kind of borrowing from that key when we're thinking a little bit more about the dominant 7th chord, the secondary dominant. And that can help us, make some note choices when we're improvising too. We say, well, I know that this thing should kind of work, and then you can have your ears conditioned to that sound. All right, so another tune that I did a little video on was Confirmation. So I did a little bit of a solo on a short, and it's kind of a new thing, I think, on YouTube. Not sure exactly how long it's been around, but it's pretty cool, and plan to do a lot more of that. I was really surprised to see how many views that got, and so that's the second short that I've released, and I'm still sorting out exactly what I want to do on those. If I want to just do a little playing like I did, or maybe do some kind of mini lessons. I've seen a few folks doing that, just having a really short lesson. So the time limits, I think, 15 seconds to 60 seconds. So it's pretty short. All right, everybody. Well, if anybody has any tunes they're working on, I'd love to hear about it. But maybe I'll talk a little bit about the Confirmation and maybe some ideas on that tune. So one thing to think about there is how you're moving from one chord to the next. And one kind of simple sort of concept that you might try to take away is similar to what I was talking about a little bit earlier, which is to take a few tones and see if you could connect with the next chord sound by maybe going a whole step up or down, and especially if you do a skip at some point. Let's say I'm talking about this this F. I might say, okay, well, what if I play this? Maybe I could play this note next. And see if you can connect by steps. So just really kind of simple things that maybe kind of outline the changes. So that's kind of so. What did I even play there? So right. Anytime you could get, maybe find the fifth, so you hear that a lot in that, um, in some of the older recordings. So you have a. This is another thing I think we talked about a couple weeks ago, but taking a diminished arpeggio, let's say on a D7 flat nine, and then connecting that flat nine to the fifth, you could resolve it right there, or maybe play the third as well. Okay. So taking, the more you can maybe take um, a few notes on a given chord sound and just see if you could connect it in a maybe really simple kind of way. Um, it's kind of interesting if you're taking a like a one chorus solo and it's a cappella, and I don't think I played a lot of chords in it. Then it's helpful to guide the listener a little bit to some real simple things. And so playing fifths and thirds, really helpful, flat sevens or sevens in general. And kind of connecting and guiding the ear melodically. Um, get a chance to check out Chris Potter playing some a cappella uh, standard tunes. There are some recordings out there, and there are some transcriptions, I think, by another saxophone player out there. And so that's it's kind of cool. So that's one of the tunes that I think he did. But uh, one thing that's kind of cool to do, which I've been sort of interested in somewhat over the years, is to take a take an approach as if you were like a not a harmonic instrument, and say, okay, what if I played, and just maybe play in different registers and things like that. You play some root notes or anything really. So and just try to mix things around a little bit like that. So I'll play around with that tune a little bit. I'm gonna take it real nice and slow here. Right. So you know kind of also just thinking a little bit about what the chord changes are as you go through. Maybe recite them internally and call them out. It's sort of a lot of 2-5. Okay. So start on the F. Then we have 2-5 to the relative minor. That kind of becomes its own 2-5. Get another 2-5 to the 4 chord. 2-5 to the 2 chord, and then the first time we get the dominant 7th. So that's something you be sure to kind of outline on that time through is getting that B natural. So there's another circumstance where we can really try to think about closely related keys. So F, we're in the key of 1 flat. If you have a G7, I think, okay, key of no sharps, no flats. For that, a moment. B flat. So that's also closely related. So working on and kind of getting really good at having kind of various ways of passing through chord changes. There's some really tried and true things that musicians have done over many years that are pretty effective. So you can think of this as like little routes or kind of phrases. So for example, that diminished kind of sound. Or, that kind of line. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to hang out for about 5 more minutes. And so I hope everybody's enjoyed this talk so far. And I think I mentioned a couple things I'm working towards doing. I want to get a Rose Room play along video out here soon, and this chord melody video for Body and Soul. So I think the Body and Soul will come out. Should be out pretty soon, but just gotta put that together and check that all out. So so if you do like all this content here on the channel, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. If you're looking to support the channel, you can join our member area. We have a member update, which I've been doing probably 5 days a week. Usually like a 10-minute video and some occasionally I'll put a behind the picture, behind the scenes kind of picture and everything. And so check that out if you get a chance. I think it's $2 per month. It really helps the channel as far as maintaining things. John says your guitar sounds really sweet today. Oh, thanks. Nice smooth lines. You're welcome. Appreciate the comment. Glad to hear it. So, yeah, I'm here on this. This is the kind of lesson studio room. I bought some wall mount guitar holders, so hopefully that'll show up behind there here pretty soon. Hoping to do that this weekend. We'll see how it goes. All right, everybody. And if you're checking this out on Facebook, we also have live streams on YouTube. So check us out there. Check me out there. And it's kind of where most of my videos and things reside. So if you're watching there, be sure to check out YouTube /Footprints. I've done some improvements to the website. I'm going to continue to do that here. We go. It's fretprints.com. So it shows a lot of the current, recent things that I've been doing. And then check out the podcast, Fretprints Podcast, Jim Ellis, Fretprints. And let me know what tunes you're working on and everything, and what concepts you're working with as we go. Oh, thanks again, Michiko. You're welcome. Glad to hear it. Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Have a good one.